Today marks the 16th anniversary of the launch of Operation Iraqi Freedom. In a national television address announcing the mission, President George W. Bush said, quote, "Our forces will be coming home soon as their work is done." And as we all know, that took a very long time. Meanwhile, the war in Afghanistan, which launched a year and a half before the war in Iraq, is still an active battle to this day. Many people don't even realize that. Now, two of the nation's largest veterans organizations, one conservative and one liberal, are teaming up to end America's forever wars, working together to revoke the Authorizations of Military Force Act, or AUMF, passed in the wake of the 9/11 attacks. Joining me now, members of both of these organizations, Executive Director for Concerned Veterans for America, Dan Caldwell, who served in Iraq with the United States Marine Corps, and Peter Kaufman, former Navy intelligence officer and vice chair of VoteVets.org. Thank you both for your service. Thank you for joining me. We got to get into this. Walk us through why you're doing this and how you two came together.
Well, first of all, we're two organizations that are very active in the political space. We are diametrically opposed on 99% of issues. We are out there in force in congressional elections. We support candidates of different parties, and we disagree on most things. We disagree on how to serve combat wounded veterans, but what we agree on is that we want to stop creating combat wounded veterans. And the way we do that is to end the forever wars. The AUMF you discussed was passed in the wake of 9/11. It's been in effect. It has been used by presidents of both parties to justify military conflicts in Africa to fight against groups that didn't exist on 9/11. And all we're saying is it's time for Congress to step up, use their authority. They are a co-equal branch of government, and it's time they stepped up and exercised that authority to rein in the use of force that's been going on unchecked now for 18 years.
Dan, Rand Paul, who has been largely opposed to these operations, is quoted in the piece about what you're doing, and he says this: "I have talked to the president about 20 times, noting that Mr. Trump has been publicly opposed to forever wars, but part of the problem is the people around him." What are you hearing from the White House?
Well, I think the president has the right instincts on this. He said in the State of the Union that great nations don't fight endless wars, and he's absolutely correct. I think the difficulty has been operationalizing that vision that he has for America's foreign policy. And there's a lot of bureaucracy. There's a lot of issues that go into actually implementing this vision that he has of a more restrained foreign policy. And I think that that's one of the big issues that needs to be tackled, in Congress stepping up and asserting its role in this and saying, look, there needs to be more oversight of these wars. We need to be authorizing the use of military force can actually help that. I would say that some of the president's advisors are not aligned with him on foreign policy. I think that's very clear. I think that sometimes that can be a good thing, but if you have people that are actively impeding your foreign policy, that's not good, and you should take a close look at that.
Peter, what would your proposal mean for troops who are currently serving?
For troops that are currently serving, what we're talking about is repealing the AUMF, so that if you're currently in the military, it would take an act of Congress to justify you going to a new country to fight a new war. And that's really what we're concerned about. It's to stop what has been happening for years, where we have conflict upon conflict. Men and women are being killed in combat zones as part of operations that didn't exist when this was voted on 18 years ago. 90% of members of Congress weren't even in Congress after 9/11. They didn't even vote on this AUMF.
Then, Dan, what are you going to do to make sure this remains an important issue in the next election?
It's a very good question. As Peter mentioned earlier, we have a lot of credibility that we've built up over the years with our activists across the country. VoteVets has a very large activist base. We do as well, too. We've invested a lot in different political fights over the years. So we have a lot of leverage as members of Congress. And we're going to go to the members that we work with, the Concerned Vets, and Peter and his group are going to go to their members that they've worked with. And we're going to say, hey, look, this is an important issue. And if you don't follow through on actually reining in some of these wars, then we're going to hold you accountable in the 2020 election. And based on the tens of millions of dollars, literally tens of millions of dollars that VoteVets and Concerned Veterans for America has spent over the years in these elections, it's pretty clear that when we say something, we mean it, and we're going to follow through on it.
All right, I have to ask you both, because every American should be appreciative and should honor those who serve our country. I have to get your reaction because I don't understand. Peter, what is going on with the president's comments about John McCain?
He obviously has a deep insecurity, and I want to stay bipartisan here, but the president...
You can be human first, actually.
The president has a deep insecurity, I think, based off of his evading service in Vietnam. He dodged the draft. He got a medical deferment that wealthy, connected people got during Vietnam. And he sees a hero, an American hero, someone who I have admired my entire life, like John McCain. And he denigrates him because he can't even understand that type of character. There's nothing in him that can even comprehend that level of character.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.